All right, I'm going to talk today about the Google Professional Machine Learning certification. Keep going down some of the things that are important to study. And in particular, I think now what I wanted to get into is some of the infrastructure of Google itself. And one of the best ways to do this is to open up labs. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here. And one of the better ways to learn the Google Cloud Platform is to use this thing called Cloud Skills Boost.google. It used to be called Code Spaces. I'm sorry, Quick Labs, but things have been changed a little bit, and now it's called Cloud Skills Boost. And so the one of the most important aspects of initially using the Google Cloud Platform is to understand, how to serve things out, how to get started, and 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 I think in particular, we can go through here and look at some of the featured learning paths here. I think probably a good place to start would be to go through like maybe more of a beginner one to get started with Google Cloud. And if I go through here and say deploy and manage cloud environments, this is probably a good one to start with. And we can take a look at all the different things that are available. So configuring IAM, hosting a web app, using Compute Engine, networking 101. I mean, just a ton of different labs here. And I would say this is probably a good one right here, hosting a web app, just so there's some familiarity with what it is to serve something out on the Google Cloud Platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Start Lab, and this will launch the lab in a way that allows me to log into basically to a new environment. And what's pretty cool about this is that I can actually go through here and open up a new environment right here and actually use all of this stuff. So I can go open up new location, which I'll do right here. I can copy my information here, right there, and copy username. There we go. And then I can also go and copy the password and then throw that in there. Perfect. All right, so I'm logged in here, and from here I can actually go side by side and get things cooking. So this is actually one of the nicer things about this particular platform is that I can do things side by side, and in particular, all I need to do now is look at each of these steps. And so the first thing I'll look at is really getting started. We already did that, and we can optionally look at this. We can say G-Cloud auth list just to take a look at it, and we can go through here and go to the Cloud Shell environments. This thing always annoys me at the very beginning. I always forget how there you go. Perfect. Yeah, when I first start up, I always get the tab over there that is in my way. But I'll make this, that's about the right size. So if we type in G-Cloud auth list, it's going to ask to authorize, and there we go. We see that this is my active account. That looks good. And then the next thing that I'll do is I can also list the project ID just to make sure that it access to everything. Perfect. And then I could set the default place that I'm going to work. In this case, this would be the US Central 1F region. Perfect. Now, the first thing that we'll do here is create a compute engine interface. And so this allows me to, basically launch a VM. And so if I go through here in the shell itself, we'll go through and type in a VM, launch enablement, and then I'll create a bucket so that I can store things inside. Now, one thing to remember about a command like this gsutil, this is installed by default, which is one of the advantages of using a cloud-based development environment. In this case, you can see that I have these additional commands I could use and all these other kind of fun things that come with it. But it makes it very easy to use a command like mb or make bucket, and I can actually pass in shell variables. So that's kind of the huge win here about uh, using these built-in shells, is that they make it very easy to interface with the cloud platform. There we go. We can see that the bucket's been created, and in fact, we can even look at it if we go through here and we go to cloud storage and we look at buckets. There we go. There's the bucket that's been created, which is pretty nice. Now the next thing I'll do is I'll clone some code, and in this particular example, again, what's cool about it is I can just do it right inside of this environment. So I can just paste that command in, get clone. It's going to go through and it's going to grab a microservice for us. I'm going to cd into monolith to microservice. I don't even have to paste that. It's pretty easy to do. And then we can run a setup command. If I cat the setup command, you can see, what does it do here? Doesn't do, it installs a node basically. So we'll go ahead and get that running. Set up sh. It's going to go through and hook up the npm version for us. And this should take just a little bit of time. There used to be an option a while back for this where you could like boost the cloud shell, which was kind of an interesting option. I guess they got rid of it, but I always liked it. It was like the old Windows computer that had the turbo button, and you press turbo, and then it would launch like a more powerful burst of energy for you to do something. So we're letting this thing install here. And then once it's complete, we're going to double check that everything's working by using nvm installs -- lts. And it's taking a little bit of time here. I guess you could always, oh, there we go. Looks like it's almost done. And we can get this thing finished. It's almost finished. Okay, great. So now that that's done, we can run nvm install. I just copy it. Just be lazy. Nvm install -- lts. Perfect. And then if we go into microservices directory, let's take a look. What do we got in here? If we do ls-l, the microservices directory, and that contains some code, and we're going to type in npm start. Should start a node front end that's listening on port 8080. And typically you can just click on web browser and you should be able to preview it. So yeah, we can say preview on port 80. So we can just go through here and we can say preview on port 8080, and we should see some kind of node app. There you go. And it's got products, orders. Well, at least it's got something working here. So we'll go ahead and close this window. And now we can deploy this thing. So in order to do that, we're going to have to create a startup script to configure instances, clone the code, and upload it to storage, deploy a compute instance to host the backend microservice, reconfigure the front end to utilize the backend microservice, deploy a compute engine instance to host the front end microservice, and then configure the network to allow communication. And so the first step is that we're going to go to Open Editor in the Cloud Shell ribbon here, and we're going to navigate to the monolith to microservice folder. So notice here there's a button called Open Editor. There's a richer editor that you can use, not just the shell, which, the shell is actually not bad, but it's kind of nice sometimes to use a more rich environment to develop with. So let's go ahead and get that working. Great. Now that I've got that, I'm going to click on this folder, and we're going to make a new file, and we'll call this startup script .sh. So I'll say file save as, and we'll call this there we go, startup script.sh. And I'll next copy this and paste it inside of here. There we go. So this is a bunch of stuff that basically bootstraps a machine. I can tell it's grabbing code, creating a supervisor process, all that stuff, and find this and replace it with the output from the following command, which is kind of interesting, because if I go back to the terminal, I'll need to run this command, get this project ID. Get this project ID here. Copy. Then we'll go back to the editor. And we just need to go to the project ID, which is right here. There we go. We got the project ID inside. So the reason we're going to do this is so that it goes into the bucket that we've created. And I think that that's all. Yeah, this looks correct. And this line of code looks similar to that. And we're going to save this file, which we've already done. Ensure the end of line is set to LF and not CLF. Let's see. Wait. So save the file and close it. Ensure end of line is set to check looking at the bottom right of the code editor. The bottom right of the code editor. Interesting. Toggle. Oh, so it says if it's set to, I see. So no, it is set to LF. We want that end of line. Okay, so we did that correctly. So the startup script is basically going to bootstrap the machine, install a logging agent, install Node, create a supervisor, which is actually written in Python, and then run the following to copy the startup script into your folder. And so we can go ahead and copy this, go back to the terminal. Let's just clear everything here, and let's paste this command. So we want to do this. We want to copy this and paste it right here. There we go. So we're going to copy that into our bucket. And now that it's been copied into the bucket, we can copy the cloned code into the bucket. So we would basically do this. We would cd into the main directory, which we'll do first. Then we will remove this part of the code base. And then we will do a gsutil command, which will copy the rest of the code into the cloud storage bucket, which allows us to, I'm assuming, reference this when we do a deploy to the virtual machine. Okay. And if we go through here, now all we got to do is just run a one-liner which says, hey, launch a virtual machine for me, which is pretty cool. So if I go through here and I run this, we can see gcloud, compute instance, create backend, machine type in1 standard, tags backend. So the tag is optional. This just gives us some metadata. And then this one is going to tell us, we're going to basically tell it where the startup script is. So let's go ahead and launch this thing. And what this should do is basically create this virtual machine. There we go. Look, there it's running. That was pretty quick, actually. I'm shocked that actually it's running that quick. And then it says retrieve the external IP address of the back end. So let's go ahead and grab it. Although it already told us the external IP address. I don't need to do it again, but why not? 34.66.57.170. And then in the Explorer, we're going to go back into this app. Then copy the code. Okay, so basically we're gonna now configure the backend so that the web service can talk to the correct backend, right? So this is not something you would do in the real world because this would be a bad way to deploy software, but for a demo, it's okay. So we're going to copy this IP address for the backend right here, just right there. Copy that. And then we're going to go to the code editor. And we're going to go back to the monolithic section. We're going to go to the React app, which is a front-end web service, single page app. In the code editor, view toggle hidden files. View toggle hidden files. There we go. And there should be a .env here. And we're going to then swap out the IP address with localhost. We're going to take out localhost and put in our external IP, which is a public IP. So we're going to save it, go back here, and then we're going to rebuild the app. So we'll cd into the React app directory. We're going to use Node to basically build that React app. Okay, it's going to go through here and build this out. Once this is built, then we're gonna basically push this as well over to the cloud storage bucket, and then all we would need to do is deploy a front end. All right, that's looking good. So kind of tee this up, which basically will just get rid of junk code that we don't need. So we'll go through here and get rid of that stuff. And then we'll copy what we do need into the cloud storage bucket right there. And now we just deploy the front end, which should be a one-liner, which will be in this case, this execute the following to deploy the front end instance. It's similar, but notice that the tag says front end here. So I guess which is smart enough to be able to know the right startup script environment to run. There we go. It's pretty interesting. So this tag here lets us pick the right startup script, which I didn't know that you could do. And now that we've got this, we need to configure the firewall rules to allow the front end and the back end to talk to each other. So look, we say target tags front end, which is definitely pretty cool. So we go through here, we tell the back end and front end that they can talk to each other. And then we now do the back end handshake to get the back end to talk to the front end. So first it was front end to the back end. Now it's back end to the front end. There we go. And then we would again go through here and we should be able to see a working application. There we go. We see this. It may take a couple seconds, although I see they're running. It was very fast. And we can curl here, replace front end with the external IP for the front end instance. So we'll do this. So we'll say watch, which the watch command just runs the same command after a couple seconds. Front end address, which would be external, which would be that. Perfect. And then I would do :8080. And what we're doing here, connection review. So you should see, I believe, yeah, this is going to have to wake up for a little bit, which is kind of interesting that it didn't, because it does say it's running. So let's double check here. It says, wait 30 seconds to execute the following to monitor for the application being ready, replacing front end with the external. So that does appear to be, it should be ready. Although I didn't wait 30 seconds. But once it's ready, you should see some kind of a JavaScript interface here. So we can go here and say curl :8080. There we go. We see it. So now open up a browser and go to the address. So go here and then 8080. That's all I got to do. So let's go ahead and do it. What we got? Welcome to our fancy store. And now our fancy store has products. Pretty cool. Yeah, so not a bad little demo that I think showed us how to actually kick the tires on the Google Cloud Platform, which is really important for ML ops and for machine learning engineering. So I'm going to go ahead and now stop the front end. I'm going to stop the back end. Really liking this metadata concept with the tags here that they do. So let's open up. I don't know why it's taking so long to stop, but basically in this case it says stop the stop the front end and stop the back end, and then create an instance template for each of the source instances, which is pretty cool. So I guess you basically are creating a snapshot of the configuration of the machine. So we'll give this a second to do, and then you list that has actually been created. Once you've done that, then you can delete the virtual machine. Now, I don't know exactly what's in the template. That would be kind of good to know. Is it a data only or config only? I'm assuming it's config only, but no data. So basically just has the startup script location and things like that. So we'll just give this thing a second. Perfect. Now we'll copy the config. Got it. And we don't need to do both. I'm just going to do one. And then once I've done one, yeah, there we go. I'm just going to do one of these and just, yeah. So we see it did it. And then I can just delete, you can do more stuff if you wanted to, but basically, yeah, I'm going to kind of call it a day. I did enough. I did some cool stuff here with getting an initial web application working on Google Cloud. So next week around the same time, I'll keep going with Google Cloud machine learning certification. See you next week.